Welcome to Delegations of Dreamers.
I'm never sure if you're gonna do the welcome or if you're waiting for me.
We can discuss that later. Right now we have a guest here. Dorian, is it?
Yes. That's my name. Okay. Two things, or one thing mostly. Um, dragons.
Do not be afraid. We do not eat guests.
I've never seen a dragon before. Never seen dragons. Where
Now
I'm
you see two.
from. Oh, jeez.
And whatever Rue is.
I keep telling people I'm a Cephalotus Fae. I am a plant-based Fae creature.
Fay.
Yes, Cephalotus Fae.
Yeah, that's what I say. That's Fay.
Well, I'm a little bit taken aback because where I'm from, I don't see a lot of that. I've only fought a lot of strange creatures. But where I'm from, the city, I've only seen basic humanoids.
What kind of creatures have you fought?
Well, let me get settled in here a little bit. Um, might as well, right? Because I'm here.
You can sit on that rock over there.
Um, all right. Looks comfortable enough. All right. Well, first off, I didn't catch your names.
Oh, that's quite polite. I don't think we've had someone ask our names. I'm Ephraim.
I am Ashura.
And I am Rue.
Well, it's nice to meet you. You know, my name's Dorian. Somehow, I'll have to ask about that later. But I need to answer that question that you asked. Kind of creatures that I fought. Let me take a brief second here to try to remember, because I'm a little disoriented right now. Been hitting the head a little bit, and new area, new place. One of the most frustrating enemies had to have been the strange creature. Couldn't tell you what it really was. It's made of fire. It hurt to hit. Burned me every time I punched it or kicked it or headbutt it. When I was fighting it, I tend to use a couple other different weapons at my disposal. I don't know what happened to my chain. It's not here. Must be where I left it. Back wherever I used to be.
Yes. But did you manage to do any damage to the fire creature?
I'd like to think so. I mean, I did leave a giant hole in it. It hurt, but me and my fellow companions took it down, which, speaking of them, I wonder why they're not here or where the heck they're at. They're probably wondering where I disappeared to. This may even be just a dream. Who knows?
Yes, I think you hit your head pretty hard last time, so you'll wake up soon. Don't worry.
Well, this will be quite the dream to share or not share.
Who are those friends you talked about?
Well, let us see. Well, wouldn't you know it? Most of their names escape me as well, except one. She was a doctor. I believe she was a high elf. Very, very snooty, but very good at what she did. Her name was Sen. She was quite the handy woman. She created these gadgets, these magical devices. It helps us out in a tight spot. She has lightning that heals. It makes you feel better. I don't know how it works, but it does. I'm not much of a magical man myself, except for a couple things, but those are just instinctual mostly, and a little bit of power I have acquired.
Yeah, I wanted to ask. You're a human, correct?
I hope so.
To my knowledge, humans don't generally have arms such as yours. What's going on with those?
Oh, those. Well, that is a result of a little bit of a power that I've acquired that I've mentioned. I wish I could tell you how they function, how they work properly, and why they transform like that. But again, result of a certain power that I have.
Do you use them as weapons?
They are my weapons.
Power. Is it to do with their tie to a devil?
That's peculiar. How did you know that? That you are correct, by the way.
I can see people's ties to the otherworldly creatures. It comes with being an ascended being, I suppose.
That's curious. It's very curious.
Who is this devil?
You never did tell me his name. I'm assuming out of precaution. I learned a little bit about devils before I joined up with the gauntlet, but he came to me, and when I failed and I needed power, it was a verbal exchange. The contract was very simple, a lot of unspoken things, which means the contract is very simple and very easy to find loopholes in. But this devil, he was a pit fiend, a particular pit fiend. He was the servant, as far as I know, he was a servant of Asmodeus, as far as I'm aware. He granted me this power when I failed. First, when I joined the gauntlets, and embarrassingly, I fell in the first round. Orcs can be pretty strong. Got cleaved into two, but I came back.
I have heard orcs can be pretty strong, but regarding this gauntlet, I'm assuming it's not one you wear. It's a series of trials.
That is correct. Um, when I joined up with that, I was under the assumption that I would be working my way through as a sponsor for for the mafia that I'm a part of. My boss wanted me to join this gauntlets, so I suppose little did he knew, or maybe he did know, who knows, about what would happen. And this gauntlet, a series of challenges, a lot of people knew about it in the land that I'm from. It's this place to gain this wish when you complete it to the end. There were my other companions with me. One of them was a goblin who was some sort of blood mage. I mentioned Sen, who was the doctor, gadgeteer, artificer, if you will. And there was a paladin. Wish I could remember his name. It was a long name. He was very cocky. He didn't really sit well with me, but I worked alongside him regardless. Got to put aside my personal feelings. And then there was a warlock who, well, frankly, he died, and he didn't have the luxury of being offered a pact. I presume he was under another pact with another being. I can't say really. He had a lamp on him. Again, I'm not very familiar with strong, powerful creatures outside of devils.
How did the warlock die? Did he die from the same orc?
No, he got eaten by a hydra.
These sound like some interesting trials. What all trials were there? Was it just combat, or were there any puzzle-based, dexterity-based?
There were puzzles. They were frustrating, very obscure, and very subtle, annoyingly, frustratingly subtle. But most of it was primarily combat. We fought undead, we fought devils, which excited me, particularly chain devils, which is just up my alley. But instead of them causing pain, I caused them pain, and it was fun, and I'm sure they enjoyed it. But they're dead now, so
What do you mean the devils were right up your alley? Do you have a vendetta against them, or
no, I just really like devils. It's that they have a particular outlook that falls in line with my own, most anyways. The chain devils that I've fought, well, I share with them my desire to cause pain when I need to, and sometimes I like to receive pain. But That's different. That's a different matter.
So you like horny creatures and you like to deal and receive pain.
Not in a pleasure way. I mean, I guess it's pleasurable, but it's not in the way, not in a sexual way.
I will repeat.
Oh,
Kinky.
geez. Oh, dear.
So about this gauntlet, what was the point of it? Why were people going through all these trials and tribulations?
Oh, for the wish. It's very powerful wish at the end of the gauntlets. Complete all the hardened challenges, all these life-threatening trials through the harshest of fights. This gauntlet is a powerful place. Its magic is, I couldn't begin to tell you how powerful its magic was. Perhaps it was created by a god or goddess or some other powerful magical creature, but this wish could grant you anything that you wanted, anything that you desired. And what I wanted before, originally, I had another intention. I wanted to go in, when I first joined, before I got killed, was to, I wanted money. I wanted power in the sense of money power, like government power. But now, ever since I made that pact with that devil, I've been looking for ways to try to overcome my pact with that devil. So, and try to take its power for my own, and then eventually become a devil myself.
But you want to overcome this pact with the Archdevil and become one yourself for the power. What is driving you to become so power hungry?
I want to. It's the facts of being of working for it. I want to work for it. It's satisfying. I've built my body for with all the effort, blood, sweat, and tears over the years. It's the satisfaction of acquiring this power and being powerful. But at the same time, I want to use this power to let's see. Let's say to put it the best way I can put it is I want to show people that you can pretty much work for it without any help or little help. Help can be necessary if need be, as is with like for example the devil. But my philosophy is if you're not fit to take power and to control it and to become something better, then you don't deserve it. And if you fail, then life is built upon failures. It's built upon overcoming these failures and becoming better. If you fail these consistently, constantly, and give up, then you failed. You don't deserve to be helped.
And as you were building yourself up to obtain these powers, is that how you obtained all these different scars?
Yes, these scars are from my time in Ottenberg. You make enemies with people, with gangs, and you learn how to fight with objects that happen to be nearby. Oftentimes, you become the target of these other gangs who also do the same. I've gotten a lot of scraps, even when I joined the mafia. Before that, it was hard, but it was thrilling. I wouldn't change it for anything. I don't regret my upbringing. I don't regret my situation. Being in a tight situation was thrilling and exciting. And that is partially why I want to become a devil, because I know how that world works. Not, I don't know precisely, because I've never lived in hell or any of the nine hells for that matter. But I do know that there is a lot of politics in the nine hells. I'm sure you're aware.
We are aware of quite a few of these, but you enjoyed the hand you were dealt in this life.
That is correct. I enjoy my life. All these struggles, I thrive off of them. Without these struggles, I wouldn't know what to do with myself. I can never sit comfortably. I can't sit comfortably. I have to be doing something. I have to work, whether it be through working through pain.
Well, there is another stone you can sit on. You don't have to take that one. Sit on that stone over there.
I like this stone. It's my stone.
You said you couldn't sit comfortably.
That was a figure of speech, my friend.
Here we go again with those figurative speeches.
Yes. Ephraim does not always understand figures of speech.
He's learning. It's just we need to teach him a bit more.
I do have a couple of questions. First, where did you get that fabulous coat?
This is my pride and joy. If anybody did something to this coat, they'd be getting these hands and more.
It smells like wet fur.
Well, I mean, that's probably the blood. But this coat, I got this coat when I was in the mafia. I saved up. I was walking down the nice part of Ottenburg. I saw this coat, and it didn't have the spikes or chains on it when I saw it. Just the black leather coat with the fur on it. A little bit of moment of vanity, but it was a very nice coat. So I bought it with the money that I've earned through the mafia. I made some adjustments to it, put some spikes on it, put some chains on it to my own desire. And now it's been enchanted thanks to the wonders of the gauntlet because I would not wear anything else. They give me a drab brown cloak in place of this. No way. I gotta have this coat. This coat will be on my person forever.
But it does look like the spikes are making the coat a bit more uncomfortable.
Oh, that's the intention. That there's a reason why I put the chains and spikes on there.
Oh, I guess you are a bit kinky.
Why? I'm not kinky. That's I just like the hurt.
You mentioned, just a matter of interest, the Hydra that you met. Did you manage to catch its name?
He was it. I couldn't tell. It was too busy trying to kill us.
Okay, 'cause my cousin is a Hydra and he cannot stop talking about people he killed. Maybe it's the same one.
Interesting. Was he large, green, had about 18 heads?
No, I don't think he had more than 16.
Oh, well,
Don't hydras, when you cut off their head, they grow another? Or am I thinking of something else?
they do. They do. At least this one did.
So it could be that that's the same hydra. It's just got some heads cut off.
Could be.
How do you go about defeating a Hydra if their head just grows back?
You attack the body. That's precisely what I did. I activated the power that was required. Now, these arms that you see, they didn't used to be hurt permanently like that. Before, when I first acquired this power, one of my arms would transform into what you see. But now, when I use this power, energy pours out of my arms, and it gives me this adrenaline that I've never felt. This magical adrenaline, if you want to call it that. I'm able to hit harder, faster, and even if I somehow seemingly unable to make contact with one of them, it seems to go through regardless.
There is another way to defeat Hydras if you're interested. If you feed them a saucer of milk, they usually have diarrhea for weeks. They're horribly lactose intolerant.
Ah, that would be useful if the gauntlets wasn't, because we're under a time limit when we enter these floors. The Hydra was one of the. There's a big, strong, powerful monster every 10 levels. Sorry, every 5 levels. This Hydra happened to be on the 10th level at the time. A lot of allies almost died. There was a party there before us trying to fight it. This Hydra annihilated them. Unfortunately, you don't have weeks to wait for it to poorly.
No, you have to set it up in beforehand.
That's another problem because we didn't have much time in between floors. We at the most at the max of 8 hours of rest before moving on to the next floor. It was relentless.
So there were individual floors on this. It wasn't just one giant arena that they would bring creatures out to.
Yes, it was a tower of a sort. It doesn't look like a tower when you see it from the outside, but it's like the floors. I couldn't tell you how many floors there were. I never really got the true amount, but it always seems to change.
What about an estimate?
Well, if I were to estimate it, I say about 20. I'm going by previous contestants who I've talked to and people I've heard, it's the last person who won in the gauntlets 500 years ago, at least where I'm from. There's been numerous combatants and contestants in the gauntlet since then. Not one has reached the top, but I aim to.
Maybe if you manage to win the gauntlet, you should wish for more floors so people won't be able to reach the top.
That's interesting. I That's also kind of cruel. Now, I'd like to at least keep that the way it is intended for the gauntlet, mostly because if they can work their way up to those 20 levels, then they've earned that spot. They've earned that wish. But these levels, if they can get past what we fought, then they're very good. They're very talented, very strong. Unfortunately, the past 500 years, there's been a lot of failures. There's been a lot of deaths in the gauntlets. Anyone who's walked into there and not come out, they're dead. If they built their way up, if they rose to that top, then they've earned that spot. They've earned that wish.
So the Mafia signed you up for the gauntlet, correct? Did they sign you up so that they could use the wish themselves, or what was the purpose of signing you up?
You know, I never did get an answer. They just kept me in the dark. The boss kept me in the dark. I couldn't tell you why. It's something fishy about that. I wish I knew. He was always a secretive person.
And who was in charge of the gauntlet? If they sign you up for it, I'm assuming there's a person in charge of it in order to find who was signed up.
There are people who control the structure, but there is no true ruler of the gauntlet. There's no person that's truly in charge. There's some deep bargaining or something going on. I don't know a whole lot outside of what it actually is. All I'm aware of, I've met a guy after defeating the Hydra. He gave me this snazzy belt that you're looking at right now. It makes me stronger, and I like it. But this guy, he seemed to be a major member, a major person, presumably in charge of the gauntlet, but I could not tell you precisely who was truly in charge of the gauntlet, because the gauntlet, like I said before, has so much power. It's power even beyond my own understanding. Like I said, it could be belonging to a deity or a god or a goddess, somebody. Who this god or goddess is or deity or otherworldly being is, I couldn't tell you.
And going back to your Mafia history, how did you go about joining them? Or why did you join them? Was it for the power hungry?
I wouldn't call it power hungry. I would call it a sense of accomplishment. I worked my way through the streets, busting heads, getting my head busted, trying to work, trying to live, succeeding. The mafia found me. They offered me a position. I wanted to join because I thought it would be fun, but I also wanted more structure. I wanted to become a part of something. I wanted to keep things in order because there was a lot of chaos in Ottenberg, and me growing up through my life, a sense of order would be helpful to do what I want to do. And what better way to join the mafia? Because they had their hands in everything. And what better way help acquire a certain kind of order and keep people in check than to join the mafia. I was an enforcer. I was the one they sent in case things got out of hand.
You can't get more orderly than organized crime.
You cannot. Quite fun. So the boss was very, very mysterious. I never really truly met him, if it could even be a him, or it could even just be they. I've only heard their voice, and I never did see them, which gets people asking questions sometimes, but not me. I didn't care. I just wanted to help. I wanted to be a part of this. I just did my duties.
What kind of things did they have you do in the mafia? I'm assuming you beat up other gang members, but were there anything farther from that you did?
Well, normally I would be honest. It has been quite some time. There's of the path of that life. There's not since I've joined the gauntlet. There's a lot of things I seem to be forgetting. As I grow in power, the more of my past life seems to slip my mind, which is kind of worrisome. But at the same time, it doesn't worry me if that makes any sense. As far as I understand, I mostly was in the mafia to act as that enforcer and potentially work my way up further. Again, I do like the power. I do like to acquire the power, whether it be through physical or political.
And if I recall correctly, looking here at my notes, you're a pugilist, right? How did you go about becoming such a specific line of work?
Well, like I said, my past was rough. I grew up in a very poor area, very hectic, very gang ridden. I was born without parents. Well, okay. I was born, obviously. I had parents. I'm an orphan, to clarify.
Thanks. I was
Sometimes I
confused.
misspeak. I got hit in the head a lot, so forgive me if my words don't come out the way I want them to. But yes, I grew up an orphan, uh, and you get picked on, you get targeted. Being a kid in Ottenberg, you're targeted by older kids, and you learn to fight. You learn to harden yourself, and that's what happened to me. You either sink or swim. I swam, and I just built up upon that, which eventually led me to ex- able to bust heads using my head to bust heads, or throwing kicks through punches, and I've developed this knack to use just about anything around me as a weapon. I'm quite talented at that, and I've grown attached to using chains in my line of work. When I was the guy known to use chains when I was the enforcer, I would be easily recognized by my jacket and by my chains. I love chains. I don't know why I like chains somewhat as much as I do, but you put some spikes on them, you wrap it around somebody, you get that blood flowing.
Do you collect chains?
I do. Back in my home in Ottenberg, it was can't remember what that place looks like. There's a ton of chains that I left behind before I joined the Gauntlet, but I got this new chain. I don't seem to use it much because it doesn't seem to. I love this chain. I wrap it around myself, but I don't use it. It's a lot of effort to use its magical properties when I could just force somebody to the ground and just rip them into pieces.
What magical properties does it have?
I haven't used it a lot, if at all. I used it once. I believe when I used it that one time, I was able to whip somebody with it, like I usually do across. Like it seemed to stretch when I whipped it about 60 feet out. I was able to pull myself in towards them or pull them towards me from 60 feet out. It was very cool, very exciting. but I could end up closing that gap with less effort without that chain. Which using that chain, too much effort pour into it became inconvenient. But I do keep it on me because I like chains.
Going back to talks of the Mafia, did you have many luxuries, such as luxurious foods, by being a part of the Mafia? I've heard that sometimes that they have benefits such as that.
Oh, I'm pretty boring about that. I never really went for the fancy foods. I just went for the fancy coat. I usually just stayed humble regarding my meals, but I do like me a good roast chicken sometimes.
Well, have you heard of a delicacy called the shaken milk? Or, sorry, commoners call it a milkshake.
Milk shake. You, I'm not sure what that is. Do you take a bottle of milk and you shake it?
No, you take milk, you add some frozen dairy product, usually made by churning some milk with some sugar in a thing of salt, from what I understand, and then it freezes the milk to make it into a type of hardened cream. I think it's called ice cream, but then you mix that with some flavor in the milk, and it becomes a almost smoothie-like substance. I've been dying to try it, but I'm trying to figure out if anybody has had one so I can know if it's as good as I've been told it is.
I suspect that it's quite a good hydra repellent.
That useful, but that does sound delicious.
Yes.
I've never heard such a thing. We don't really have those in where I'm from. That sounds delicious. I don't suppose you have any here. This milkshake.
Unfortunately not. I've been hoping that somebody can get the stuff to make it, but none of us seem to be able to find any good dairy production areas. Not anywhere near us, and I'm a little bit on the lazy side. I don't like to go too far out of this cave.
So you've been in this cave for quite a while then.
I personally haven't been. I came here more recently, but since I got here, I haven't been out of the cave very much. Maybe, maybe to the next nearest island, but that's also very rare. Note to self, though, do get one of the dragons to go fly over and see if they can get some dairy for us.
One of these days, one of these days. But speaking about the country that you came from, can you tell us a bit about it?
I believe that is unfortunately something I also forget. The amount of times I've been hit in the head. My memory over the years has been very selective. I will only remember specifically the city name. I never really grew attached to the bordering countries or the country I lived in, just primarily the city itself. So I've learned name didn't come up a lot, so I never really bothered to remember it. If I had moved outside, then I would have, but I was born and raised in Ottenberg, and I wouldn't have left if it wasn't for the opportunity to join a gauntlet. An unfortunate side effect of being hit in the head a lot is to forget certain details.
And before you joined the Gauntlet, was there anything in particular that you liked about the city? Any place that you wanted to go, or any place that you enjoyed being?
Well, I did like the market square. I always liked looking through the stores. Primarily, I liked walking about and socializing when I could, carouse the city, if you will. It was fun. I did enjoy talking to people when they weren't afraid of me, and they didn't like some people knew who I was. Some people kind of strayed from that, but from the moments that they didn't, and struck up some nice conversations with people, just talked about small things, even if it was just the weather, even just something that they saw in the store, or just what they did today, even what they liked. Simple stuff. I don't have very many interesting hobbies. Of course, chain collecting. Some people find that interesting. I think it's just a normal hobby. Doesn't anybody else collect chains?
Well, it's a hobby.
Everyone has their own particular interests.
Yeah, I like to collect gold.
Ah,
I like to collect bits and pieces from musical instruments. myself.
I like to collect stories.
All of them fine things to collect, especially stories. Stories are interesting. Stories are what makes the world's dream world go around. And I'm still trying to get used to the fact that I'm talking to dragons because there's I've never seen a dragon before until now. Where I'm from, they're you don't see them ever. Like they're all in the legends.
Well, I've never seen a chain collector before.
Well, I guess it's the first time for everything.
All right, I believe that is up for our time. Dorian, thank you for joining us today. I hope you have a pleasant awakening.
Thank you for having me. I hope if I see you again, I don't know. Let's this will be an interesting story to talk about to my companions if I see them again. If they're not dead if I remember.
If you remember it. And good luck with the gauntlet.
Thank you. I aim to get that power one day.
I'm sure you will. And we will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.